What's up? Michael Edward here, head trader at True Trading Group. It is February 26th. Nice little video today. We're going to talk about trading a clean, picture-perfect head and shoulders pattern in SPCE. I took a swing trade, guys, short SPCE by means of put options. Okay, so I'm not short the stock itself. I bought put options. I have the $30 strike, March 6th expiration put options at $2.42 a contract. They closed today at $4.22, and I'm expecting them to be much higher in the coming days. The whole entire premise and concept behind this trade is a head and shoulders pattern. So I'm going to talk to you about head and shoulder patterns. We're going to go over that trade here today, and really how to identify head and shoulders, but more importantly, when to rely on them, because you can have a head and shoulders pattern form, but if it's not forming at the right point in a stock's price action, it's irrelevant. So you have to be able to understand how to identify it, and then also knowing when to trust it. So let's go to the daily chart on SPCE, and we'll talk about this setup. As you guys know, SPCE has been out of control crazy. We have been trading SPCE. I traded it long in here. I've been trying to short it during this consolidation, but this time I'm going after it. And this time I think I've got a pretty good one on my hands. The 15-minute chart is where I want to identify this head and shoulders pattern for you. Disregard these tails. These tails did not actually happen. These are just misprints. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to black this out. All right. So there we go. Because those tails didn't actually happen. So I wanted to screw up what you're seeing on the chart. So right now, here we have the price action on SPCE. And now to identify the head and shoulders pattern, a head and shoulders pattern is literally looks exactly what it sounds like. A head sitting on top of two shoulders. Okay. So you have, when a high gets put in, there's your left shoulder. You make a higher high to put in the head, pull back in, and bounce back to create another lower high, which forms the head and shoulders. But you need to also have a neckline. A neckline is the most important part of this trade setup because it is the support level. And when you break below that support level, the trade triggers. So as you guys can see here, we have very clear support around $29. Here's your $29 area that creates your neckline. Here's your left shoulder. Here's your head. Here's your right shoulder. And as you can see today, we have just broken below the neckline. Okay, this neckline was around 29. Here we are sitting at 27.72. And I'm expecting a move down to at least the $25 area, which are these prior highs back here from the 13th. Okay, if we get below that, my absolute final target would be 20. Okay, $20 is the previous double top all-time high. I take you guys to the daily chart just to show it to you. Here you guys can see the previous double top all-time high. There's your double top. We broke through that, and that's when you had the big strong volume surge and the stock had its big explosive move. So if we do get all the way down to 20, I certainly would expect that area to become some support. But here's the setup, guys. I want to point this out to you. And now let's talk about when to trust head and shoulders patterns. You have to understand that there's two types of patterns. There's continuation patterns and there's reversal patterns. Continuation patterns are exactly that. They form in, a continuation pattern that forms at the top of an uptrend will typically have the stock continue in that same trend, hence continuation. Reversal patterns reverse the trend. Very simple. Okay, this is some basic stuff that is covered, and all of this, guys, is covered in the beginner and foundation courses that are part of the True Trading Group curriculum. Okay, all of this stuff is covered. All the chart patterns. There's like 20 common chart patterns that I go over in the beginner and foundations course. The head and shoulders is one of them, and it's also one of my favorite patterns to trade because it gives you very clear levels. This pattern triggers when the neckline is broken. Okay, When the neckline is broken, you want to see the stock stay below that area, and then typically the trend reverses. Head and shoulders patterns, head and shoulders form at the top of an uptrend. So you do not want to be trading a head and shoulders pattern if it's not at the top of an uptrend. As you can see with SPCE, we are at the top of an uptrend. The stock is very clearly in an uptrend. Okay, be careful trying to place trades off head and shoulder patterns if the stock is not in an uptrend. Okay, now you have something called a reverse head and shoulders, which is the exact same pattern, just flipped upside down. So instead of you having your left shoulder and the head higher than the right shoulder, it's the opposite. So you would have, if we flip this chart around, you'd have your left shoulder, your head would be lower, and then you'd have your right shoulder. And then the same thing, your neckline, the stock would break above the neckline and you get a move higher. The point is that head and shoulders are reversal patterns. So you either have a head and shoulders pattern form at the top of an uptrend when the stock breaks below the neckline. Typically, a new downtrend will ensue. The exact opposite, a reverse head and shoulders will form at the bottom of a downtrend, and when the stock breaks above the neckline, you get a move higher. The trend reverses. That's the key to this pattern. So this is what I identified on SPCE. We were talking about it today in chat, and I went ahead and I entered. Let's delete some of this stuff so we can go. I'll go into a 3-minute chart so I can show you guys the entry on this. I'll leave the neckline there though, and we'll go to the 3-minute chart. So as I go out to the 3-minute chart, you can see it becomes a little bit more difficult to see. All right, but there it is. There's your head and shoulders. Here's your neckline. Your neckline is very clear. So as we zoom into today's action, we gapped down, tried to push higher, then pulled back in, started to roll over and sell off later in the afternoon. And as we started selling off, I said to myself, man, that right shoulder is firmly in place. Now, if SPCE got up to here, then I would say, okay, maybe this would not be a clean head and shoulders pattern because this right shoulder would not firmly be in place. But getting rejected here like we did and then selling back off, that kind of told me that we are well within this head and shoulders pattern. I went ahead in here and I bought some put options right there for a swing trade. I'll take you guys to my trade announcements on the day. Here we are at 1:40 p.m. You can see swing trade, bought SPCE, $30 strike, March 6th expiration put option at $2.42. Stop loss if it gets above 34.50, which was the high of the day. Okay, there's 34.50. If we got above that, I would stop out of the position. Okay, so there was the entry at $2.42. We then very quickly sold all the way down to that neckline. Here's that neckline at 29. That was my first target because of this support level that is very clear. Okay, that's the neckline. If we break below this neckline, this trade should trigger. So when we got there, I said, let me take 25% of my position off the table just to be prudent in case the neckline does not break. Back to my announcements, you can see here at 2:25 p.m. I took some, 2:56 p.m. I took some profit off of the SPCE $30 March 6 expiration put options at $3.50. I'm still holding the bulk of the position. So I still have 75% of this position on the table. 25% came off right there at the neckline. Then we broke through the neckline, had a hard time getting back above it. And here we are after hours trading lower down right near the low of the day. I'm looking for a move tomorrow down towards 25, and that will be my next take profit where I'll sell 50% of the position and I'll hold on to one last 25% piece to see if we can get all the way down to 20. Okay. So really, really, really solid trade. Intraday, I'm right on the day intraday, but I've got a very big unrealized gain on this SPCE trade because I still have the trade open. But my day itself, intraday, closed P&L. I am slightly red on the day. There was another trade that I actually did not grab in my trade announcements, but I did it was earlier in the morning, and I grabbed the announcements and I only cut it off at that 140. So that was my mistake, but I did trade another stock today, and it was APT. So let me just talk about that because this was a losing trade, but I always talk about the good and the bad. So let me just talk about this one real quick, guys. APT was on my watch list today. We broke through yesterday's high. We halted. We had big volume coming out of the halt, and I like this for to see if that halt price was starting to hold support. We were also had the 38.2 Fibonacci level. At the time, VWAP and the trade line were all the way up here. And I was saying on that pullback, you see how we start holding support above that level. I actually jumped in here long a little bit on APT. And then as soon as we broke back down below that level, I exited that trade pretty quickly right down here. So I started the day red. I was looking for this level to hold and give me some continuation up towards. I thought we had a chance to get to 14 or 15 today, but we just kind of basically just traded sideways. You can see the stock really didn't do anything today. We just traded sideways. So I want to, I didn't get to grab that in my trade announcement, so I did want to point it out to you guys because I was red on the day. Intraday closed out P&L, but I'm green with the unrealized profit, and hopefully we're going to get a lot more out of this. So that's it, guys. That's, the lesson I wanted to cover here was basically the head and shoulders pattern. If there's anyone that, if you guys want to take part in this trade, I still do think we have a lot of downside tomorrow. If you see SPCE cannot get back above the $29 area tomorrow, that could give you another entry opportunity to then see if you can get that move down towards 25. Again, I have the $30 strike, March 6th expiration, put options at $2.42 a contract. I sold 25% of the position at $3.50, still have the bulk of the position, looking for $25 on SPCE as my next take profit target. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I'll see you guys in chat later.